Hello, my name is Jason Mazer, and this is my presentation on why minority students have a higher dropout rate than white students. To start off, I want to look at an introductory fact, which is in 2022, white students had a dropout rate of 3.4%, while most other minority groups averaged about a 6% dropout rate. This graph here shows that most other minority groups, besides the Asian people, have a higher dropout rate than the white folk. And there are so many underlying reasons why this is the case, and we're going to get into them right now. First off, we have to look at historical context. Dating back hundreds of years in this country, historical policies have placed minority families in low-income areas, reducing their access to well-funded schools and, in turn, reducing their opportunity for a successful future. According to the Pew Research Center, minority families are 2 to 3 times more likely to live in poverty compared to white families. And obviously, living in poverty results in a lack of resources, lack of opportunity, and overall lack of money, which really affects your future. And looking deeper into it, this is due to the fact of redlining, which is the idea of placing minority groups into low income areas, and the idea of white flight, where this phenomenon where white people are going to move out of minority filled urban areas into this more well-funded, better suburban areas. This leads to unequal distribution of resources, which we see throughout schools in different areas of poverty and different minority levels. And we're going to get more into that as we go. One of the biggest factors as to why minority dropout rates are so much higher than white folks is because the socioeconomic factors. Minority students are twice as likely to live in poverty, which affects everything. First off, it could affect their attendance due to lack of transportation and maybe access to medicine with health issues, so that their guardian or parent can't really take them to class and they will miss class. Another reason is access to learning tools like the technology and internet. These schools with low funds and not a lot of opportunity do not have great technology, and these students are going to be left behind in this generation and will not be able to catch up when they really need to in the real world. 30% of dropouts cite financial pressure to work and support their families. Um, as I said before, this all relates to being in an underfunded area. And due to being in an underfunded area, a lot of these families and these children, their mentality is about survival rather than education. Their family might be in a position where they really need that extra hand to help out with their work, so they can so they can make some extra money and actually feed their family, put some clothes on their back. They aren't really as focused on education and their future as a well-funded suburban family might be, because they need to focus on surviving. And to survive, they need to stop thinking about school and they need to work and help out. Another reason for minority dropout rates being massively higher is the school funding disparities. According to EdBuild, schools serving primarily Black and Hispanic students receive 23 billion less annually than schools with mostly white students, which is just completely unfair. This leads to larger class sizes because they need more money to take in more students. There are fewer extracurriculars because there's not enough money to create these clubs. There's going to be outdated textbooks. And finally, probably most importantly, they're going to be underpaid and unmotivated teachers. And your education is only as good as your teacher. And if your school can't pay the teacher to do the work, then they're not going to do the work at all, and it's just going to affect the student. Another reason for the massive minority dropout rate is disciplinary disparities. According to the U.S. Department of Education, minorities are 3.5 times more likely to be suspended or expelled than white students, and suspensions increase dropout risk by 30%. This means that the minority students are, for some reason, getting into more trouble than the white students. And once you get in trouble, you are much more likely to drop out. So the relation between the higher dropout rate and the higher times that they get in trouble makes sense. Finally, we need to think of a solution. There are many ways that the systematic error can be eradicated. People can't really change where they're from, but we can change how they approach school. We can use community initiatives such as My Brother's Keeper, which gives mentorships and leadership programs to minorities that might not have access to it originally. I believe that an investment in a culturally responsive curriculum will do wonders for children because they're going to be more attentive into learning about their background rather than something that they might really not care about. And then finally, the most important thing is equal funding for under-resourced schools. I believe all schools should have the same opportunity and the same resources for their students to succeed, and it should not vary based on where you're from. It shouldn't matter if you're from one more funded school, you have a better chance of a future and a better chance of opportunity rather than a student who goes to a low funded school who might not have that opportunity. Conclusion, closing the dropout gap between individuals, families, and society will make us a more unified together society. We need to support the policies, mentorships, and funding initiatives that empower minority students because we're only as good as our future generation, and our future generation needs the best education that they possibly can. And it's not fair if it's different because of where they live. They are students and they should all get the same access to education. Thank you and have a good day.